Hey everyone, thank you for listening to another episode of Spoiler Force Podcast. You can find more episodes on any podcasting platform such as Apple Podcast, Spotify, Amazon, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and make sure to follow Spoiler Force Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch.
This is Ming Chen. I love you, Ricky. I love Spoiler Force Podcast. Listen to it, everybody.
This is a FlowGasm Beats production.
All right, so this is episode 85 of Spoiler Force Podcast. My name is Ricky, and thank you for tuning in. I am so geeked right now for my guest this week. I've been following her career since 2015 through Cosplay, and now she's a host for PREVIEWSworld, a writer for Otaku USA magazine and Cosplay Central. She's an overall artist, a model, an actress as well. And let me just introduce my guest here, Annie Mia.
Hey everyone. Hey.
Hi. So I am so glad to have you on this podcast. Like I said before we started, we had this, an earlier conversation. I'm trying so hard not to geek right now.
It's okay.
Because just just like seeing your growth as a content creator and just cosplayer, like I said, it's so inspiring because just seeing pretty much it's like humbling in a way, like seeing where you came from, as a fan, like me, and then up to where you're at now, just through liking pop culture and cosplaying and creating crafts. How do you feel about that right now? Like just seeing where you've gone from the beginning, going to conventions and just being a normal person, or like just as a normal fan like us to being what you are now.
I think it's kind of crazy that I've made a career out of like just being me and all the things that like I love. I think growing up, there's, especially being Asian, like there's this like pressure to like, be a doctor or a lawyer, or do like something professional. And so I tried that and it just really wasn't me. And so it's kind of cool that I've been able to make a living and a career off of like doing what I love and being myself and not like, having to fake who I am to be in a business. And so it's kind of crazy. Like, I don't know. I feel really lucky, and it's one of those things that, I don't know, hard work, I guess, kind of pays off.
That is great though. I mean, like, because who would have thought that being just a cosplayer would get somewhere in today, especially with how popular conventions are. And like, I feel like a lot of the uprising was through like MCU, through all the movies, how everyone wants to dress up or kind of portray those characters in a sense. And again, like just seeing your growth, it's truly inspiring. And yeah, let's just get on with this podcast. But before we do, though, I do want to thank Lemon Dome and his group here that rated us on Twitch. Shout out to my cousin Lemon Dome and all his friends. So thank you guys. I do see you guys. I'm on StreamYard, so I can't see exactly the Twitch stuff, but I know you're there. So thank you for the raid and for all the emotes and stuff. But yeah, so first question though, the reason why I'm wearing this shirt here from Demon Slayer is that the Demon Slayer movie just was released for movie tickets today. Did you buy your movie tickets yet?
I haven't yet. I want to like rewatch the series, like the first season, and just kind of catch back up. I've also been wanting to read the manga. That's one that I really love the story, and I just love it's the first anime in a long time that I like fell in love with, you know what I mean? Like I kind of was super into anime and then got back into comics again, and I've kind of gone back and forth. And that was the anime that really got me back into like watching anime again. So I'm super excited for it to come out. I haven't got my tickets yet. I haven't gotten tickets to movies or anything in so long. It's also like foreign again.
It really is. The last time I've been to the theaters was last December, I want to say. I watched that one movie that Christopher Nolan made, Tenet. I think that's what it was.
Oh, okay.
That's the last movie I saw in theaters. And with how his writing is, though, like with that movie, it was so complex that I wanted to watch it again, but I guess the COVID stuff spiked here in Michigan again, so I didn't go.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
but
don't even remember what my last movie I went and saw was. That's how long it's been.
it really sucks because I for the listeners who don't know, I tend to go to movies by myself because I can absorb the movie much better than watching it with someone. And so Tenet was one that I watched, and then like I just remember 2019, like the movies I did go watch was like My Hero Academia, Heroes Rising, and then Demon Slayer was supposed to come out that same year. I think like in April of that year, but it's been almost 2 years now since that movie. Now it's being in theaters this April 23rd. So for you Demon Slayer fans, I have a Tanjiro shirt and Nezuko shirt here.
No, I
Um,
like that one.
Thank you. It was from Hot Topic. I know you did Demon Slayer cosplay too. I don't know if you did a Nezuko one, but I know you did one of the pillars, right?
Yeah, I did
The love pillar,
the Spider Mom.
the Spider Man. Oh, okay,
Yeah, I like that whole scene. That was really cool. And
yeah,
plus, she was like super sexy for being like a villain character.
yeah, that was a good fight scene. I liked it a lot. I mean, the way how Ufotable does their animations for Demon Slayer, it's so top tier and almost really movie quality. I really like what they've done. And for the listeners right now, I've talked about Demon Slayer so much on the podcast here, so definitely check out the other episodes. But speaking of movies, you've had the opportunity to watch Mortal Kombat for like the first 10 minutes, right? Without
Mhm.
spoiling anything, what did you think?
Oh, it's so good. It's really good. Like it's everything that I kind of wanted to see from a Mortal Kombat movie. I got to talk to the director and the producer and ask them questions. And, hearing that the producer was like a giant fan of the games and really wanted to show his love for it in the movie, and then like how dedicated they were to having like a diverse cast and making sure that all the casting decisions were like correct for the characters, to the point where they were saying like they almost had like went and did the like 23andMe like blood test to make sure that the actors were right, or like if they were like a little bit, they're like, well, he's this, but he's also like a little bit of that, is that okay? And they're like, no, okay, that's fine, that should be able to work. And then it was just really cool because they take all those different cultures into account, which is, I feel like, something that they've never really touched on before in the movies, where, all of these characters come from completely different backgrounds. They speak different languages. And so it's really cool that that's shown and appreciated in the movie. So, and it's brutal. It's really brutal. And I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty excited for Mortal Kombat. I honestly, I wasn't a big Mortal Kombat person growing up. I was more Street Fighter. So I always like, got into heated debates, with like Ryu versus Scorpion or like Sub-Zero versus Akuma,
Hmm.
stuff like that. So I'm definitely more of a Street Fighter fan. But I think what they've done with Mortal Kombat, I really like the aesthetic that they have. And I'm a big Hiroyuki Sanada fan. So seeing him play Scorpion, I was totally geeked out. Like my
Yeah,
parents, yeah, my parents grew up watching his movies of Sonny Chiba, and I grew up watching some of his movies as a kid.
mhm.
So seeing him still acting today in his 60s, he's still killing it. And
Yeah.
I like Ludi Lin as Liu Kang. I thought that was a really good casting choice.
Yeah, I think all their casting choices were amazing, and as far as the aesthetics, it's really awesome because like they even got it down to like the blood splatters. Like you would think like in a normal movie, you'd look at the blood splatters and be like, oh, that's too much. Like, oh man, that's too corny. But like if you were a fan of the games, then it's absolutely perfect.
Now, do you like that they didn't put certain characters in? I know that one of the big not issues, but I guess fans were saying that because Johnny Cage wasn't in the movie. What was your thoughts on that? Since he was in the original Mortal Kombat movie too.
It was something that was actually asked of them, like, what was your decisions in picking certain characters? And they said that they wanted to, tell a certain story and really get that in there, and then really kind of leave stuff for possible other movies. So I think it's one of those things where they're like, let's see how it goes with this, and then we can kind of expand the universe from there. So fingers crossed this does really well.
So you think there's going to be like I guess time skips or multiple universes like the games in this franchise?
I'm not sure how they're gonna do it, but I know that they really want to like bring in the full aspects of like all the different characters. So I don't know how they're gonna do that necessarily. really, but I think it's honestly the movie's in the right hands after talking to them. It's really they picked the right people to get involved in it. So
Yeah. This last note I want to talk about with the Mortal Kombat movie. I know people were like expecting that, or they kind of want that multiverse thing because obviously nostalgic fans really want to see like Robin Show come back as Liu Kang, or like an older Liu Kang, or like see the original Johnny Cage and Sonya Blade. So hopefully something like that happens, because seeing like crossovers like that, and especially how DC did with the Flash having Ezra Miller and the CW show, a lot of fans like that. So hopefully they can do something like that in the future too.
yeah,
Now,
definitely.
have you cosplayed any Mortal Kombat characters? I don't recall if you did, but have you ever?
No. I might have to though now. Well, to see when the movie comes out. I'm kind of like you. I mean, I liked Mortal Kombat, but I was always more of a Tekken girl.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I hated Tekken. I never hated Tekken for the game, but I hated Tekken because my cousin would always like destroy me in that game, even as a kid. So I hated the game, and he was so good at it. Like the king, the luchador in the game, his grappling combos was the same thing over and over. And I hated that, so I never wanted to play Tekken again after that. I'd always get killed. Oh my god, I hated like the way how he played. But you know, you were speaking about diversity and stuff like that too. Like Tekken has done a really good job with that, having each character have their own native language and stuff like that too. I really like that they've done that with Tekken, and especially like with the martial arts too. Like they really I give like homage to all the styles, like the Shotokan karate, the Kyokushin, the boxing and MMA and stuff like that.
Well, it's just like having like a really good movie, right? You kind of have to have like that individual characterization, and I think that's what makes, a fighting game can be so basic because it's literally just two characters fighting it out. Maybe there's a tag aspect because Tekken tag, but it's like once you introduce like the backstories of the characters and give them personalities that are unique, that's when it really kind of becomes more than a fighting game, and into like something that people really get invested in.
Now, speaking of backstories, for listeners and watchers who don't know you, can you kind of give like a quick, like I guess, overview of like how you started cosplaying? And then I'll actually want to show something in a bit after you say it, so that way fans can see like how far you've come as well.
Okay. I mean, I was always a geek growing up. I always liked comics and, fantasy movies and books and stuff like that. And so it kind of always stuck with me. But then when I graduated, I kind of tried to become like, I don't know, normie. I went to college and was like, I'm going to become, a professional. And it just is never me. And even when I started having professional jobs, I was always interested in anime and comics. And so one of my coworkers, who was the only person in my job at the time that liked anime, and she's actually the one that gave me the name Anamia.
Oh,
way
nice.
back in the day before I even started cosplaying. She was the one that first told me about anime conventions. And she's like, there's conventions for this, right? I'm like, what? There's conventions? Like other people like this and we can go talk. And so I went to my first con and I saw people cosplaying and I was like, I want to cosplay. Like that's so much fun. Like, dude, this is so cool. And I worked on my first cosplay and it was horrible. Like it was really bad. But I honestly had so much fun, and I still remember like the compliments that some of the cosplayers, gave me that saw me through the day. Like there's this guy in Texas that always played cosplay as Jet. And he was amazing, and I always loved his cosplays. And I'll still remember him passing by me and going, "Oh my god, your ears look really cool!" Because I had like these big elf ears on, and it was like that little bit of motivation. I was like, "That's really cool," because he's a really cool cosplayer, and he just told me mine was cool, and and I don't know. I've just been cosplaying ever since. And then someone was like, "Make a Facebook page," and then I did, and who knew this is what it would become.
One of the first cosplays I noticed, or at least what drew me to your content, was your Final Fantasy X Lulu cosplay. That was actually one that I liked a lot. I think I was just scrolling through either like Google Images or like looking up cosplayers, because at that time that's when like cosplayers were putting up their pages on Facebook. So like Jessica Nigri was one of the first ones that I saw, and then just through that rabbit hole, I just started finding people, and I found yours, and then I really like what you've done with how like with Lulu as well. Like, but that was like such an I guess, but that's one of your older cosplays though, right?
Oh yeah, I was baby cosplay. I think I've been cosplaying for like 2 years, and I had a lot of help with that. And I love that one. That one was fun. I was I mean, I'm still super addicted to Final Fantasy, but that one was one that was like really special to me. And yeah, that my love of cosplay. I don't know. You can just see it in my face in there. It was like budding cosplayer. This is my thing. I love it. I never stopped.
Now, was it just through the anime conventions that you were exposed to cosplayer or to cosplay? Because for me, I discovered cosplay through like just looking at like Naruto cosplays, and like a lot of these girls in Japan, like they really killed the look for Naruto. Especially, I don't know why girls do it so much better than the guys do in Japan. Like they really look more like the characters versus how men do it. So that's how I first discovered cosplay, and then yeah, that's when I started really liking the art. I can never do it, but I really like how these models or these creatives, how they do it. So going to that convention, that's how you first got introduced into cosplay then?
Yeah, because I went to my first con in 2007. And that was when like cosplay was still pretty like obscure, even at cons. Like not everyone was cosplaying. It was like super, like, I don't know. I still feel like it was something that was like, yeah, truly nerdy. Like, look at us. We're in our costumes and like, I don't know. We were like the nerdy of the nerdies at the con, and it was fun. And then like, God, there still weren't even like websites yet about cosplay. Like we had cosplay.com, which was like a forum, and then there was like some stuff deep in the shadows of the internet. But that was like way back in the early baby days of cosplay. So really the only places you saw it were at conventions. And then as it became more popular, then like websites started popping up, and you saw like all these things. Like it's so crazy to think that cosplay was something that was so tiny and so niche, and like we didn't have any supplies that catered to us. We had to make our own stuff. It was like literally the forefront of cosplay when it was still in the shadows. And then now you come out and it's like, major companies are embracing cosplayers and working with them, and it's just this whole evolution of it being something that even at conventions, it was kind of the super nerdy thing to do, to like now it's something that's cool and celebrated and everyone wants to do it. And it just kind of shows you that like once people try something, then they might actually enjoy it. I feel like people didn't really like get into it until they saw other people doing it, and then they did it and they were like, oh, this is really cool.
I really like that you brought that up too, like how cosplayers in the beginning, not today, there's so many stores or even like cosplayers like Yayahan, they create supplies for cosplayers and stuff like that if you can't make it yourself. And I really appreciate that too, because sometimes some people are not good with their hands. They can't craft. So I think it's really cool that a lot of cosplayers help do that, create items, or like even like wigs or earpieces or headpieces and stuff like the simple stuff like that to help people try to cosplay better and try to make their outfit look a lot more like the character. Now, I first met you at Motor City Comic Con, I want to say 2017. That's where I first met you, and I have pictures here. I just want to share it with the viewers really quick. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on, okay.
That was a fun con.
Here we go, right here. Can you see it?
Oh, yay!
Yeah. So I was with another podcast group at the time, but this is like the first weekend I met you, and I think I even did like a 3-minute interview with you. I don't know if you remember that, but I remember this weekend because this is when you debuted your Sailor Mars cosplay at the convention, and then I had you sign my Sailor Mars pop too. And I remember that though because like I guess I was so used to like just giving the guests their like money for like autographs and photos. I just walked up to you and handed you like a 20. I don't know if you remember. I just automatically did it, and I remember because like you had like this face on you, like, oh, okay, and you just took it. But I don't know. I was just so like automatic with it. I just gave you the money, and you signed it for me. So I still have it. It's in my room somewhere. But yeah, I this is where how I first met you, and then like the year
Oh.
and like the year before that, I met Ivy Doom Kitty at the same convention too.
I remember doing the little interview with you. I remember doing that.
Yeah, it's still on YouTube. Viewers can find it on YouTube somewhere. Yeah, like
I
I
have to
stopped.
find it.
Yeah, I stopped by to see like all 3 days because you were definitely one of the guests that I really wanted to see. I dressed up as Penguin on the first day, and then I think you dressed
I
up.
remember that.
Yeah, I think you dressed up as Ripley from Alien that first day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh, that's
that was a
awesome.
fun convention. I thinking about it now though, just to see how it was back then, just a couple years ago, and now today, with like we were saying earlier before we started recording about COVID affecting conventions. What's your thoughts on that right now? I know you've been not going to conventions for almost a year now, and so
Yeah.
what are your
It's
thoughts on that so
hard.
far?
I miss it. Like I really miss it. I mean, not just because it's part of my business, and finances and stuff like that, but because I honestly miss seeing people. Like I like to think I'm introverted, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm fine being by myself." And I'm really finding out that I actually thrived when I was around people. Like, yeah, sure, after a 3-day con, I need to like rest for like 4 days, but it just energizes me, like seeing people and being around people. So I really want like cons to come back, but I'm also at the same time really nervous and scared about it because I don't want it to happen too soon. Like, I'm hoping for the fall, but I think like anything before that is a little iffy. Um, I just kind of want everyone to get vaccinated first or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I honestly I don't know how to feel. Like I do want to go back to conventions eventually, but I just don't know how to. Like I said before, I just don't know how to feel about like just how they're gonna organize everyone and try to stay 6 feet apart through everything, and especially with lines and how hectic photo ops are and how autograph lines are. It's a lot.
Yeah. Well,
They're
and I
gonna need a
also
lot
think
of
all of us.
volunteers.
Yeah, well, I also think all of us need like some readjustment periods, right? Like, I think all of us have been alone for like so long right now. Like, even I'm like, how do I act around people? Like, I've kind of forgotten what it's like to be around other human beings. Like just calling people on the phone for like an appointment. I'm like, oh, I don't even know how to talk to people anymore. Like, what is this? Like, so I think just going out and everything's gonna seem so new. Like, I know taking a flight for the first time is probably gonna be really like I don't know, flights were already kind of iffy on getting sick or not. So I'm probably gonna go in a bubble suit. If they'll let me through TSA with one of those
Like a
giant
hamster
T-Rex
ball or
costumes.
something.
Yeah. I'll just wear a T-Rex outfit. There we go.
Speaking of conventions, I know that for you, Anemia, how does that feel though? Like you were start like us, you went to conventions as a fan and bought your own tickets and went out of your way to these conventions. But now being on the other side, being a guest and getting invited, how does that feel for you?
It's weird. It's a completely different experience. It's kind of funny because I sometimes miss those early days of cons where it was just like so innocent and you just go with your friends and you just act of muck and you do whatever and it's just like this fun time, and then it's a little bit different when it's a business and it's like, okay, so I've got to go and I have a schedule and I have to, okay, no late night partying because I have to be at the booth at 8. And like I remember the early days of like being a cosplay guest and still being able to like go to parties until like 2 and then still make it to my booth at 7 in the morning. Everyone, I'm like, how did I do that? Like I don't even know. Like but it's a different experience, but it's also a really cool experience because now I get to talk to other cosplayers and like the baby cosplayers, and I get to get them interested in it. So it's like I get to be that cool experienced cosplayer that I saw when I was like younger, and being like, oh, that's like that person knows everything, and then I can ask them questions and they can be my mentor and I can be inspired by them, and so it's kind of different and cool to be that person for other people.
How does that I guess for your experience then, like just being invited to conventions, I know like they have green rooms for the guests and stuff. Has there been any, I guess, memorable experiences that you've had, like meeting someone that you didn't think you'd meet, or just like meeting certain cosplayers or fans?
As a guest, it's always kind of cool because you do get like privy to those backstage areas. And you run into people and you're like, oh, okay, don't fangirl, don't fangirl, don't fangirl. Because you're not, you don't want to like be a bad guest and annoy the other guest. So you try to play it cool. There was one time, so I've been wanting to tell this story because it's so funny because Tom Holland is just adorable and I just find him so sweet. And so I have the best Tom Holland story. I was at a convention and back of the green room, they had brought puppies and kittens for the guests from like a local shelter. And they had them in like a little pen and you could come up and you could cuddle the puppies and the kittens if you were a guest. It's kind of like a relaxing time. And so like a bunch of us were over there and we're playing with the kittens because I love cats. And I'm like, oh, it's this baby. And Tom Holland walks up and I'm like, Tom Holland. Okay, all right. Cool. And so they hand him a puppy, and I'm like, oh, look at Tom Holland. He's so cute. He's loving on this puppy, and it's so adorable. And then someone's like, do you want to see a cat? And he's like, no, I am deathly allergic to cats. And I just look at this cat like, I am holding Tom Holland's death right now. Like, oh no. And I was like, oh, should I say hi? Like, are we allowed to say hi? So I'm all contemplating this in my head, like if this is even okay. And the minute he said that, I'm like, yeah, I can't say hi now. I'm holding a cat. I'm going to get tackled by security or something.
I had a friend that got to meet Tom Holland, and it was at I think in Seattle, one of the Ace Comic conventions, and I still get surprised at how young he is. Like just seeing, and then him being Spider-Man and being with the cast, like with Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans, like how just, I don't want to say green, but just like how young he is, how youthful he is compared to the other actors. And so I saw my friend take a photo op with him, and it's just it amazes me to see someone that young like make it this far with his acting career. And that's great that you got to meet. That's a great story. I'm actually gonna clip that as a highlight in this podcast.
Yeah, it's always crazy when I meet like the kid actors at conventions, like the Stranger Things cast, like seeing them at conventions and meeting them because they're just like super chill and responsible little adults, and they're doing their thing. They go to the green room, they're getting shuttled back, whatever, taking on their responsibilities just like the rest of us, and yet they're like 10 or 11 years old, and I'm just like, wow, to have that much poise at such a young age. Like I was such a goofball back then. Like
no, they are really mature. Like some of the younger actors I've met, like Chandler Riggs and David Mazoux from Gotham. Like these young actors are just way more mature than I am. I'm standing around at their table, geeking out, meeting these people, and they're just so calm. I'm like this late 20s guy, just like, oh my god, you're Bruce Wayne, and that was a fun experience meeting David Mazoux, like just going because I literally geeked out because I love Gotham, and so when I met him, I didn't even know what to say. I was just like, Mr. Wayne.
Yeah.
And he signed my pop.
We all have those moments. I used to have those moments a lot going to cons, and then I realized that a lot of actors are just the same as most of us, and if not a little bit crazier. So I've gotten like used to it, but there's still some that I'm just like, Like I met Jeff Goldblum and my brain
man
died.
I've seen some stories of like other cosplayers meeting him too, and like I don't know, like I guess just from just seeing the pictures, like I guess his aura is like crazy, like just
and he's also like 6'7".
Yeah, how chill he is.
He's like this big huge dude, and like not only in like his personality and his persona and who he is, but then also it's like, hi.
Now, I guess for you now, have you come across any fans that you have any memorable experiences with as well?
Oh, tons. I have, so my favorite con that I go to is Lexington, and I've been going to it since I think their second year they were around. So I've been going, God, for 6 or 7 years, and I've just developed like a whole crew there. It's kind of fun. Like I know so many people there. It's kind of, for me, it's great when conventions become family. So like Lexington's become one of those. Rose City Comic Con is another one. Seattle, Emerald City is another one where it's like I've gone a number of times to the point where like I don't even call them fans anymore because they're friends. Like we all kind of like end up at the bar at the end of the night at the con, and we all hang out and have drinks. And I think those are some of my most memorable aspects of the con is going to like the after party things and meeting up with fans and just getting chances to like get to know people as people, I guess, outside of like the booth. And those are always the fun times. So
I think I've seen one where you went. I don't know if it was you or someone else. Like, because I've seen you hang out with Ming Chen before, and did you go to like a karaoke bar with him too? I think
yeah,
was it something like that?
yeah, we've been out to a couple bars. There was a picture. I'll have to find it sometime. There's a picture of Ming carrying me piggyback through through a hotel lobby. I don't remember. That might have actually been Lexington. Um, Ming's incredible. Ming's one of those guys that will go out to the bars and go out drinking, and he will close the bar down with everyone, and then he will wake up the next morning and go do a 5K at like 7 a.m. before the convention starts, and I'm like, what the hell, Ming? Like,
Yeah,
I'm still hungover.
I had the opportunity to have him on my podcast too, and he completely took over my podcast. And I had him as a guest. I felt like the guest on my own podcast because he's so good at it. He's so natural at just talking and bringing up conversations and just telling his stories. And you know, I like in the video that I showed before every podcast. You know, he's from Michigan too, and sometimes he does come around. So hopefully one day I do get to meet him in Michigan here. I know that like we were supposed to eventually meet up. If it wasn't for COVID, we were actually supposed to meet up at one point and like go to a bar together. But hopefully that does happen sometime in the future. Now, on the opposite spectrum, though, I know that you have a lot of great moments with fans, but this is one question I wanted to ask you because a lot of cosplayers go through this. And just, I guess, dealing with a lot of the ignorance on social media when it comes to like cosplaying, and then seeing the comments of like body image, or like a big one is, you know, you don't look like the character. Why are you dressing up as that character? How do you deal with that?
I mean, a lot of it is knowing that it does come from ignorance. You know, we've all had comments made to us. It's one of those things about going out into the public persona, you know, public eye. It's just going to happen. And I do a lot of panels at cons about bullying and how to get through bullying. And one of the biggest things I always tell people is that the people who insult you or say mean things about you, it's not always, you know, that they are just going out and after you. It's the fact that they're going after anyone that seems to be having a good time, because they're not. It's one of those things of like when you're depressed or when you're angry, a lot of people, it's hard for you to see people having fun and doing, you know, and having a good time when you're miserable. And those people that do that kind of thing, they're at this, I don't know, they're kind of like the people that they let that stuff get to them to the point where they actually lash out. You know, it's natural to be sad and see someone having fun and that make you feel sad, because that's just where you're at. You know, we all have those moments. But it becomes a whole nother thing when you feel the need to bring other people down because of those feelings. And so that's what I always tell people when they're getting picked on is just remember that your bully, it's not about you. It's the fact that they've got something going on in their own life that makes them unhappy and miserable. And so they're just trying to bring you down with them. And to not let them. So, I don't know. It's just one of those things of just keeping in mind that it's not you, it's them, and just trying to ignore the ignorance.
No, I've seen one post on your Twitter. I mean, we don't have to talk into detail too much about this, but I did see one where someone was talking about like your body image, and you made I guess your response was like something that was something you've gone through as well. Just, you know, because I feel like a lot of female cosplayers go through this, especially just being like self-conscious about how they look. And how do you, I guess, besides ignoring those comments, how do you just, I guess, keep away from that as well? Like, I guess and this goes for all for especially female cosplayers, like because there's it's so crazy to see like how people will tear down cosplayers just by how they look physically, and it's just really more about the art versus how they look, So how
Yeah.
do you deal with that as well?
Well, when it comes to body and shape, it's just one of those things of understanding that cosplay is for everyone. And I mean, you don't have to look a certain way to cosplay a character. Everyone fluctuates in weight. I'm not the same weight that I was when I first started cosplaying, and that's perfectly fine. And the thing is to be happy with who you are and happy with your cosplay and who you're cosplaying, and that's the real thing that matters. It's unfortunate that we can't entirely avoid comments like that because there's just no way other than deleting and banning people that make those kind of comments and curating your social media the way that you want to. I got a lot of those comments in the beginning, but it's one of those things of once I started not interacting with those comments and just deleting those people and banning them, it actually cleared up my feed and got rid of all those people, and I didn't get those comments anymore. I think a lot of it is just showing support for each other. I wish that all of us were more vocal, and this myself included. We should all be more vocal in praising others and showing the positive support. I think we see too much negative sometimes. For instance, it's hard to not focus on the one crappy comment that you might get, even though there's 10 positive comments. So it's kind of one of those things of like, we should all just flood positive comments on people's, pictures and their posts and just show that positivity. Because unfortunately, we can't get rid of crappy people in their comments. We can't. They're always going to exist and they're always going to be there. But when it happens, just don't engage. Because that's what they want, and just ban them and then turn around and just focus on throwing positivity to everyone. I think that's really the only way to truly combat it.
I agree with that 100%. It's just I don't go through that too much, but I do see like one or two ignorant comments here and there, and like you said, it's so hard to not concentrate on it because it stands out. But then I think for anyone who's in cosplay or content creating, I think it's great that if you can find your own community that can just give you positive feedback, or even just constructive feedback without tearing each other down. I think that'll be so much better for all of us, especially on social media. That's the thing too with social media. Like you can't control what's coming at you, except if you just ban them like how you do. Yeah. But I think as a just as pop culture is growing, I think that's something that we should all like preach more, especially. And I like how you're doing that too with when you have your panels, right? You do like the anti-bullying and stuff like that too. I know Ivy Doom Kitty did that. I went to her panel when I went to Motor City Comic Con the year she went. I actually attended that too. So I think it's really cool that you guys do that for not just for cosplayers, but for everyone at conventions.
Do you want to start your own podcast? Then sign up with Buzzsprout. Buzzsprout has helped hundreds of thousands of users to begin their podcasting journey. With easy-to-use tools, you can effectively get your podcast onto many platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and more. You can view stats, create audio clips, and even have your own podcasting website. Buzzsprout also offers ideas, tips, tricks, and tutorials to help you improve your podcast. Follow the link below, and once you sign up, you'll get a $20 Amazon gift card. This will let Buzzsprout know that I sent you and also support Spoiler Force Podcast. Happy podcasting. If you're into anime, manga, or anything that's from Japan, Otaku Detroit is the place for you. Located at 513 West, 11 Mile Road in Madison Heights, Michigan, you can find a variety of manga books, anime figures, collectibles, posters, snacks, and even authentic items from Japan. Stop on by to see store owner Matt and let him know Spoiler Force sent you.
One thing I wanted to bring up too is that I know that you're doing your cosplay reflections, your volumes. I actually was able to support one of your volumes. I think it was volume 9. Yeah, and you already have volume 10 and 11 coming out already. So that's just a collection of your previous cosplays, right? for her
Well, it's
fans?
previous and new. So basically, what I started doing was I actually got the idea from cosplayers over in Asia and China because they do cosplay photo books instead of prints, and I thought it was such a cool idea to have like an actual book of photos. So I include some of like my older stuff that people really like, the more professional photos. And photo shoots, and then I include new stuff, behind the scenes stuff. People asked me to do like like my geek fashion, which I didn't think was going to be something that people were actually interested in, but people were like, no, put together a book of that. So I kind of throw a little bit of everything into a book, so that way, for the price of 2 prints, you get an entire book full of photos. And it's been really fun to do. And the getting to know you section in the back has been really interesting. I answer 10 questions that one of my friends who does all my editing and everything, he sends me the questions. And some of them are really fun. Some of them make me hate him a little. Like, what was it? I think there was one and it was dragons versus dinosaurs. You can only keep one. And I was like, oh, you suck. You suck so bad.
Now, speaking of books too, I know that with your volumes you do that as well, but you also are on covers of certain comic books, like variants and stuff like that. I actually have quite a few of them myself, like the Vampirella covers. I forgot what issues they are, but I do have several of them because I saw them at the comic book store. I go, they're like, hey, that's anime. I'm buying it right away. I just bought it.
Yay!
And I know you're doing one with like the Betty Page one. Is that a new one that's coming out too? I know you're doing that. And how does that feel now? Like, just because I know you like reading comic books, so to see yourself on a comic book cover, how does that feel?
It's really cool. Like, that's really, it's kind of like the ultimate experience. So yeah, the Vampirella one was the first one, and then I did one with Archie Comics with Uncanny Megan. So we did like a Betty and Veronica. That one was fun. And then I did one for Aspen Comics. I think he's the president. And I never remember the titles right. Of Aspen Comics, and he owns his own comic line now. And so I did one for him, and then now I'm doing the Betty Page comics, which is really awesome. And there's gonna be more stuff in the works that I can't talk about yet.
Okay,
but I will give you. Okay, wait. I know this is it's a spoiler, but that's not gonna be the only Betty Page cover that I'm going to be on. So.
Okay.
So there you go. You have your own spoiler.
You heard it first on Spoiler First. Anime has more Betty Page variant covers coming out soon, and it should be in the summer, right? I know the one that you just did should be releasing in the summer. Okay.
So it's available now to pre-order from your local comic shops, and then I believe it comes out in June, and then the whole series from that series will come out from there. So.
Now, how do you find time in between, like with how you're so busy now? How do you find time to read comic books and watch anime with how busy you are?
I do a lot of multitasking. So usually when I'm working on stuff, I always have something on in the background. I'm not as much a music person in the background as I am a movie and TV person in the background. So I've always got some sort of like show or movie on. If I'm really kind of busy that day, it's usually something that I've seen a bunch of times, so that way I don't really have to pay too much attention. If it's like a more relaxing, like maybe video or like photo editing day, then I'll put on, something that I can pay more attention to. Anime is like when I'm working out, because then I have to focus on the subtitles. Like, I try to watch anime and work, but it never works out unless I have to watch it dubbed, which I just don't feel has the same effect.
Oh, yes. Yes. Team sub. Let's go. Team sub.
Like, I'll do it if I have to, because, like, I really want to watch it, but I have to do something at the same time. But I prefer subtitles because I just feel like, I don't know, you just gotta hear the voice, right? The way they speak it lends so much to like the tone of whatever they're saying. So it just comes across better when you hear it in their native language, even if you have no idea what the hell they're saying.
Oh, I have to say something about this. The thing is, I've been having this huge sub versus dub on the podcast. Like I have some friends, I think they're on the chat too. Like they're saying like, oh, I like it dubbed because I can listen to it in the background. I'm like, no, man, in sub when they speak in their native tongue, like Japanese or something, every nuance like how they speak matters. Like My Hero Academia is a big one that I like subbed, and I mean the dub. Don't get me wrong, the dub cast they're pretty good, but compared to the Japanese cast, it is so different. The emotions hit different. The way how even like the typical anime like irks and like the gasps and stuff like that. It's really different. And one that I really like in sub is Attack on Titan. Now I'm not trying to shit on the English cast on Attack on Titan, but when you hear Aaron's voice in English versus in Japanese, it is a huge difference in the tone of the character. So I don't know. I guess coming like just play because I play music from time to time, and so I guess coming from like a musical background, like you can just hear the difference in it in just English and Japanese. I don't know. If for me, like I can pick it out, but some people can't. Some people are like, it's the same thing, it's just in English or is this in Japanese?
There's a tone difference.
Yeah.
It's the tone. Like you can feel it. Like I don't know, it just hits different. Like especially in action animes, like especially like what you were saying, like the emotion, the brutalness, the yelling, it just comes across differently in the native language than it does when you have someone trying to replicate that, it just doesn't come off the same.
Now, I want to bring up this topic too before because we only have a few minutes left, but I do want to bring up this topic too. I guess you've been writing for Otaku USA and for Cosplay Central. Can you kind of just talk about like how you got into that, and was that something that you were ever planning to do?
What's funny is before I started cosplaying, I was super big into anime, and that was when New Type magazine was out. New Type was like way back, like 2004, 2005, and it was this huge magazine that would come with one of those CDs or DVDs that would have like the first episodes of a couple of animes on it. But it was like super expensive. It was like $14.99 for a magazine, but you would get a like disc full of the first episodes of a bunch of different anime to try. And I wanted to write for them so bad. So I actually wrote into them, and they were like, yeah, we should put you on our freelance list and you should write for us. And then like a month later, the magazine went bankrupt. And I was like, damn it. And so I didn't think about it until like years later. And I guess a spot opened up with Otaku USA. And I don't remember, I think it was like one of them reached out to me and was like, hey, do you have any interest in writing? And I was just like, this is what I wanted. And so, yeah, I've just been doing it ever since, and it's been great. God, it's crazy. I think I've been doing it for like 6 years now.
Wow. Was that something, did you go to school for that, or you just?
No, I mean, I've always liked writing. I did a lot of creative writing when I was little. Like I did like creative writing courses when I was young. I wanted to write a book when I was younger. I've been thinking about it again. Now that like we were in quarantine, I was like, maybe I should get back into writing again. But it's always something that I've enjoyed. And I think it's been great to be able to, especially now without cons being here, to be able to like still give advice to cosplayers and to people, even though I don't exactly have a forum for it because, we don't have cons right now. So it's been great. I feel like cosplay auntie.
Yeah, I don't know if blogging is still a thing, but definitely back like early 2000s when MySpace was a thing. I think that would have been great for you to just do like a MySpace blog for anime and otaku stuff. And speaking of that too, like you're also with PREVIEWSworld. Is that did you just get in with them just like that too, or did they reach out to you?
They're actually kind of local to where I was in Maryland, and I got introduced to them through a friend. They were doing this kind of like cosplay poker thing where like once a week they would get together and play poker, but they would like make you like if you lost you had to like dress up and put on weird costume pieces, and so they would call it cosplay poker. And that was how I got into it, was just playing around with them. And then they were like, oh well, we really want to create a channel because PREVIEWSworld is owned by Diamond Distributors, which is the company that distributes all of comics for everywhere. And so it was an opportunity to work with the company that literally owns distributing all of comics. Like, of course, I'm going to want to get in on that. And when I saw what they wanted to do, which was bring their monthly catalog online and kind of show off all the cool stuff, because I feel like not a lot of people know about the previews catalog, the print one, unless you're like a really big like comic fan. Most people don't know that like there's literally a catalog you can get every month, kind of like the Scholastic Book Fair,
Yes.
where you can look at it and see like all the comics and the merch and the toys and everything that's coming out. And you can go ahead and pre-order it. Like literally there's a form. It's so cool. It's just like the Scholastic Book Fair. And no one knows about this. And I was like, why don't people know? This is so cool. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And it's leading to some other things. And I'm hopefully it will lead to other things because I really love being on camera, I've learned. So hopefully more things.
That is great though. Because like when I first saw that you were on Previews World, I kind of geeked. Because at my local comic book store, Liberty Comics, shout out to those guys. Like, I love getting the catalog every month because I like looking at like what toys they get or books or new books that come out, and I kind of like it's like a love hate because like when I see when I see covers of like future books, I'm like, damn, it's almost like a spoiler in a way. So I don't really like that. But then when there's new books, especially like by Image Comics or stuff like that, then I really enjoy looking at the catalog. But when I saw you on, I think it was on their Facebook page, like one of their videos, like, hey, that's Annie Mia. I just be like, whoa, she got like that Previews World job. That's so awesome that you're actually growing more than just being the cosplayer. You actually have different avenues of your career that you can choose to do if you decided not to cosplay anymore. So I think that's really great that you're able to do that.
Yeah, cosplay is fun, and it's something that I've always loved, and I'm always probably I'm gonna be like cosplay grandma. But like it's something that I've always wanted to do, but it's opened up opportunities for me to be able to do other things that I've always wanted to do, which is great. So, I gotta jump on that while I can. So yeah, now I've gotten to write and I've gotten to do video hosting, and hopefully I can start doing some more acting, and just kind of see how far I can get.
I wanted to take a few minutes here, if you don't mind, to answer some fan questions. So, listen or watchers, if you're watching, submit your questions, and I'll pick a few of them out of the what you guys have in the comments, and then Annie Mia can answer them. So, there's one here by Julian Hester. Shout out to What's in My Head podcast. He says, "Who is the one person you want to cosplay that you haven't yet?"
Hey, Julian. That's a hard one. I love Mingna. Like, I love her in like so many of her different like castings that she's had. I really want to do Fennec from The Mandalorian, which is her newest character. I don't know. I love her, and I just want to do more of her characters because she's just kick-ass. So I think doing Fennec from The Mandalorian would be my next one.
I was surprised that like she was in there because like I recognized her voice right away.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I was like, that's my girl.
Like even in the Mulan remake, like the moment like she has that cameo at the end, the moment she spoke, I'm like, hey, that's the original Mulan. I know her. So that was really. Have you had the opportunity to meet her at all? I know she's been to a couple.
I haven't met her yet, and she's gonna be one of those ones where I'm just gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna feel like I'm gonna fangirl because she's just like, I don't know, as an Asian female actress, she's very much like an inspiration to me. So yeah.
Do you also like her? I guess she was I don't know if she was the first, but she did play Chun-Li too in the Street Fighter. Did you ever cosplay that? I know you cosplayed Chun-Li before, right?
No, I have. I haven't done that one yet. I need the thighs for that. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm working. It's a confidence thing because, like, I just want to do that right. But I mean, I want to be like her Chun-Li and less the. Oh God, what was her name? Oh, she played Lana on Smallville. Kristen.
Kristen Crook.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought that Chun-Li movie wasn't that great.
That's what I was saying.
It wasn't that great.
I had high hopes for it, and then I was like, no.
Now, I guess let's see. I don't know if this is a question, but like Lemon Dome, my cousin here, he says, does she know you have a celeb crush on her? I guess not.
Well, I do now. Your cousin just knocked you on that one.
I know, he's always trying to expose me on here. There's one here. Brian Spencer says no question, but he wanted to say hi, Mia. So hello.
Aw, hi Brian.
Now
Oh wait,
before
I
we,
should look at the comments.
oh yeah, you can see it on your end too.
Oh
I forgot
yeah.
to tell you that. There's lots of comments, mostly from Twitch because I got raided by Nacho. So thank you
Yeah,
for the
because she
raid.
was kind of little to be. Yeah, I have that problem with like when they cast, and I shouldn't say that because I'm a body positive person. It doesn't matter, but like when they have like the really like little girls and they're playing like really forceful people, like really powerful characters. I think it was like Colombiana with what's her name, Zoe Salonda.
Oh yeah,
And she
that's
was like
right.
punching people like through walls, and I'm like, girl, your arm would break. You no, that's not physically possible, like physics. So, but yeah.
No, I want
Shouldn't say
to.
that.
No, that's fine. I think that there's one I wanted to piggyback on that. There was one we called Anna, and it was like the skinny blonde Russian girl. That it was like almost like a
Oh, that movie. Yeah,
yeah. She was
yeah.
it's supposed to be like a female John Wick type of thing, and I saw the
Mhm.
trailer and I was just not convinced. I was like, no, that's not real.
Like I remember when Gal Gadot was first announced as Wonder Woman, and I was like, man, okay, here we go again. Another one that's just you're just gonna get snapped. It's just gonna happen. But then she like, she gained a lot of muscle and like freaking worked her butt off, and that was crazy.
Do you like that though? Like how I guess how she portrayed Wonder Woman?
I
Do you-
liked it just for the fact that like she made her seem human in a way. And I think that's kind of what we needed a little bit more from superheroes. I don't know. I liked her as, but then again, I'm partial because I've seen her in the act, and I've seen how she is, and after being on set with her, she really is Wonder Woman. Like, I don't know.
Wait, so you've met her in person?
So I actually got to be an extra on the set of the second Wonder Woman movie.
Really?
Yeah, so I was
What?
in the mall scene.
What?
Yeah,
I gotta go back and I did not know this.
Yeah, if you check out my social media, so I got cut from the actual movie. The only part you see me in the actual movie is in the very beginning when they're doing the mall scene, and they flash past this like kid walking by an arcade. And if you look back in the arcade, you see me on the left playing a video game, which I thought is highly appropriate. That the one part that I'm in Wonder Woman, I'm playing an arcade game. But they did like a behind the scenes extra that Warner Brothers released, and you actually get to see me on the part where I thought that. So I think what they were going to do is like intro it with like people coming down on an escalator, and then you would have seen me coming down the escalator, and then the camera kind of follows me as I walk around the escalator. I walk back that way, and then you see the bad guys coming the other way past me. And apparently I was told that one of them turns around and checks me out as I walk into a store. And I was like, man, they got to keep that in. That's going to be great. And then they scrapped it. And I was like, dang. Like the bad guy checks me out in that scene.
I gotta go back and watch that. I did not know it. I did not know that. That is new. So
Yeah.
that is new. So Spoiler Force fans, go check that out. So we're coming to an end here, Annie. Thank you so much for just being on the podcast and giving us your time. I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. I am trying I'm trying so hard not to geek out and fangirl here.
No.
It's just I really appreciate your work, and I love how you are when it comes to just meeting fans, and especially meeting you at conventions and stuff like that. So thank you for this opportunity. Now, before I let you go, was there anything you'd like to say to any listeners or watchers at all that are not, or that are trying to do, I guess, what you're doing when it comes to like cosplaying or just your career? Any encouraging message for them, I guess?
Honestly, keep at it. Like, it's going to have its ups and downs. There are going to be times where you're going to hate everything that you make and nothing seems to work and it's so frustrating, and you got to push past those times because, trying to make something of anything is a lot of work and it's an uphill battle. And if you stop when it starts getting hard, you're never going to make it all the way to the top. So just keep going, you are going to be your own worst enemy when it comes to self-doubt. So don't listen to yourself, and you can honestly, anyone can do anything. You just have to like believe in yourself. It's so true.
That is great. So thank you so much. And also, can you let listeners know how they can follow you and stuff like that, like your
Oh,
social media accounts?
yeah, I'm pretty much Anemia official on everything. So Instagram, not Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch are all Anemia official. And then sadly, my my Facebook is different. It's Anemia Cosplay. But yeah, you can catch me on all those. And I will have a Twitch schedule coming up soon. I just have to figure out what that's going to be. So.
Perfect. Again, thank you so much for being on this podcast. There was so much more that I wanted to talk to you about. So hopefully I can have you back on the podcast again in the future sometime. But yeah, thank you guys for all coming in and tuning into the podcast here. Again, I am so happy that I was able to do this with Anemia. And
thanks for having me on. This was fun.
yeah, for sure. Again, I'm just trying to compose myself right here. So
You got this.
But thank you guys so much for this, for just tuning in, and thank you again for just being on this podcast with me. Just because I'm starting this new as well, and I to have someone like you, it's really encouraging for myself as well. You can follow Anemia on all her social media platforms. If you're watching this on Facebook, the link should be in the description. If you're on Twitch, just follow her on Twitch at Anemia Official. So thank you guys again. And thank you, Anemia, for being on the podcast. You guys have a great day.
Yeah, thank you. Bye, guys.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow, like, share, subscribe, and rate Spoiler Force Podcast. If you have any guest recommendations, comments, questions, concerns, or criticism, you can email me at rickyvang92@gmail.com or message me online on any of my social media platforms. Want to listen to more pop culture themed podcasts? Then check out the Epic Sewers Podcast Network. There are shows like the Epic Tales from the Sewers, the Comic Watcher Show, What's in My Head Podcast, and Spoiler Force Podcast. Make sure to follow us each on social media and find us on any major podcasting platform. Thank you for the support.